Shasta as the Era Warms by Howard W. Robertson. This holiest of mountains, this relative permanence of stone and word, this energized design of transcendence and harmony, repeating over a patterned hierarchy of ascending and descending scales, as Hope and I now arrange ourselves by our own tiny perambulations along its tree line in an immense freedom of atmosphere. In a fantastical assertion of ineffable immanence, as if nothingness conferred a métier here at this spiritual lodestone for poets and saints, where the glaciers, the wildflowers, the chipmunks, the pumice slopes, and the congealed pyroclastic flow always evoke a transformative awareness of the interconnection or accommodation of all created things, such that each simple substance is a relational mirror reflecting all the others. An expanding and collapsing personal experience of some mysterious way our cosmos is penetrated by the divine breath that inspirits every moment to render so real the real and make active what acts, of how the elements of this emblematic rock were forged in a stellar foundry, built by the star-making factory amidst the dust of our galaxy's spiral arms, of how the phenomenal natural variety and complexity around us everywhere and forever conceals the whole world's common construction out of mainly four stable particles: proton, neutron, electron, and neutrino, whose mass and electrical charge and so forth are governed by 20-some parameters set to a highly improbable accuracy of 10 to the minus 229th power, without which providential fine-tuning of any parameter there could be no chemistry or stars, nor indeed the living cosmos as we have always known it. Of how furthermore these basic particles interact via only four fundamental physical forces: gravity, electromagnetism, and the strong and weak nuclear forces, lacking any of which the limitless universe would vanish instantly to be replaced by a vastly different entity devoid of the medium-sized stars like the sun that continues to fill our planet with light and life-supporting energy every single day, and of the way we sense in our one-pointed center the non-theistic divinity that sends us the spiraling signals from the quantum level, where we can find no language for time. This holiest of mountains sleeps beneath cerulean Nil, elevates these aspirations that Hope and I project heavenward into this azure atmosphere, this pure blue air that, according to the law of incremental entropy, should no more exist than the galaxies or us, should in theory have wound up long ago in a dead state of thermodynamic equilibrium, with no need or even possibility for life of any kind. The spherical aerial ocean composed of 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, 1% argon, and the surprisingly tiny but mighty amounts of carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, ozone, ammonia, and many other trace gases across the exosphere, thermosphere, mesosphere, stratosphere, and troposphere, which each adult human breathes 30 pounds of daily. This global gaseous admixture, whose persistent compositional disequilibria violate the chemical probabilities to tens of orders of magnitude, and thereby demonstrate the earthly atmosphere is a biological construction manipulated and adjusted constantly by life itself, is not the end product of planetary outgassing and subsequent abiological processes, but rather a dynamical extension of the biosphere and its vital activities, such as the sweet exhalations we too are making now in this vast expanse, which I mentioned to dear Hope, is what Brahman literally means in Sanskrit. When one names the universal divine power, we intuit above and around and behind all the finite images of the infinite in our theologies and mythologies. When one tries to signify the original source of a primal cosmos that in its turn begot the manifold world while remaining enigmatically permanent in the mutable universe, from the gravitational mass of bigger, bigger, bigger to the subatomic energy of smaller, 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 or from the faster, faster, faster of unimpeded noumenal light speed to the afflatus of intrinsic neti neti, without qualities and supramaterial, superconscious, superpersonal, as persuasively suggested by this intense light that continuously fills our solar system inside its giant comet catapulting Oort cloud that we comprehend about as well as an eel does the enormous sea in which it swims, sleeps beneath cerulean Nil, and dreams with volcanic vim, steams from summit fumaroles amid the small lava knolls in an eruptive continuation of ancient fiery origins, vents as Earth has done since 4.5 eons ago, when its existence commenced as a separate sphere in space-time, formed from the nuclear debris of a supernova explosion, and bare as the moon is now until primordial gases were emitted from out the seething radioactive neo-terrestrial interior to lay down at first a hydrogen-rich, anaerobic reducing atmosphere that gradually changed over 2.5 eons, mainly due to blue-green algae in the seas, into the forerunner of our current oxidizing environment. Exhales from where those semi-fluid crustal rocks meet the primeval star stuff of the cosmic magma, while past and present and future are still so deeply melded according to the principle of the identity of the indiscernible, whereby the metric of time-space determines all the four-dimensional intervals within inertial frames of reference among things. Inspires us to praise these subterranean angels who seem so intimately familiar with the expansive history of the universe, mysteriously set to the scale of the lifetime of the sun-sized stars, but whom we can nevertheless astonish with our sincere account of the brief events of our little Cenozoic lives, such as Hope's and my kayaking all over Lake Siskiyou yesterday in the scintillating summer sunshine, or her whispering to me provocatively last night in our lakeside cottage that, holy and ripe, she sighs while the rude angel eats her peach, and dreams with volcanic vim of Gaia's surviving vigor, of the raw viability of the interacting tissue of living organisms that during 3.5 eons has come to inhabit the thin spherical shell beginning about 100 miles below Earth's surface in those incandescent depths, and extending outward 100 miles or so above land and sea to the surprisingly superheated thermosphere, of the wild vitality that ever weaves Earth and the heavens durably together as the local Shastans, the Modocs, the Achimawis, Atsugewis, and Wintus sensed for so many centuries here, and as our own globalizing civilization belatedly begins to comprehend now. Of this dynamic physiological system that has regulated itself to keep our planet fit for life for these billions of years, during which temporal immensity, the climate has changed often, yet has been held by Gaia within a narrow biotic range relative to the extremes possible, despite the suns having been 23% less luminous back when the biosphere began. By the emergent phenomenon that can be proven scientifically to exist, but that resists explanation in reductionist sequential causal terms, as do many related natural realities such as consciousness and a growing list of happenings in quantum physics. By the newly named, although quite ancient goddess, whom our sincere prayers must prefer before all other divine manifestations, lest sad adversities befall us, ill-starred journeys, roads to despair, stratagems that fail and recoil, of the resilient adaptability that has been perpetuated by the transfiguring immortal flow that runs on yet, stays where hope and I place our faith, even though as we stroll about on this August afternoon at this geomantic altitude, we know how each habitat from alpine herb field to mid-montane forest is creeping higher, so that nothing in predictive climate science currently seems more certain than the extinction of many of the world's mountain-dwelling species of such beauty and diversity, whose doomed eyes are glassy glimmers of goodbyes, prompting me to recommend that we keep our ode and movement circular and our stance and stanza triangular, and hope to suggest that we blend ourselves with this ensorceling mountain and find Aiki, the process O Sensei advocated, of optimal harmonization, whereby we ourselves become quintessential elements of the continual, universal evolution transpiring in a mystical realm transcending ordinary death of Gaia's surviving vigor.